And since I didn't see you this week, I am in Hawaii with my incredible daughter, and it's quite early here. I just got off my TIR call, so
Yeah.
good to see everyone. But thank you for indulging me. I was on a plane and on my way here. But weekly wins. Who has a win that they would like to share? It doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It just anything that's gone well this week, a perception shift, just no win is too small.
Okay, I'll go.
Yay.
So I launched the Ascended Dog, my Shopify store that is supposed to help people who are dealing with reactive dogs like Faith. So I've taken this situation I'm in, and I'm going to try to use this to help other people. And I created a store out of it. Well, technically, I paid somebody to create a store out of it, and I launched it 2 weeks ago. And so my win is I know now what not to do. So,
Girl, I could have saved you a lot of time.
Really, because I launched 2 weeks ago and I have a lot of visitors, but I have no sales. I have, nothing. There's no feedback. So I'm trying to navigate around that. So now I know that what I've done is not enough. So, how the rocket corrects itself on the way to the moon. So I'm making a correction at some point. I don't know what to do. So I'll figure it out.
The win
That's
is that
great.
you launched. Good for you.
Yeah, congratulations. And we can do a masterminding, part of the next couple of calls we're on. I would love to open the floor if you gals want to come in and say, here's my C-type goal, like a proper mastermind call. Here's my C-type goal. Here's where I'm stuck, and feedback. And certainly, Joni, you and Lisa offline should totally connect, because Joni could probably write a book on the whole Shopify business.
Oh, wow.
and going from there. But the thing I want to say, and this applies to all of us, Lisa, is that when you see what's not working, I love your approach to this. It isn't like shame and blame and guilt. It's like, oh, that's not working. Back to your point, what is my goal? What would I love? And staying fixed on that, because that will attract to you the people, places, and resources and things you need by staying fixed on the end goal. That's why goals are so important, right?
Right. Yeah, that is so true.
And so if we allow ourselves to fall prey to oh, I'm bad, I didn't do this, why isn't this work, if we fall into that, we lose track of what the outcome that we desire is. And then we go down a rabbit hole. And the lesson that we're studying, your infinite mind, I don't think that's the title of it. I do have it somewhere here and have been studying it and listening to it. But it's really about using your higher faculties, which we studied obviously in lesson 5. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Get back to my goal, get back to the image of what is wanted, and then go from there, and staying in the energy of the solution versus the energy of the problem.
Right.
So I love that. And Lisa, I just want to say, I think your story is so compelling. And I will say, from learning about marketing myself, not that I'm an expert by any stretch, is that, oh, the miracle of your mind. Thank you. Yes. Which I'm convinced is what Bob based those higher mental faculties, that lesson in lesson 5 in TIR. By staying fixed on your goal, you will attract those things. But I want to say something. Features tell, stories sell. I think getting out there and really telling the story, people will resonate with your story. Like one of my clients on the last call, who's a good friend of mine, rescued a dog who is a little wound up. Like, I was a little nervous. Deanna's like, give me a hug. I'm like, let's let your dog adjust to me first, because I'm fearful she might bite me. So all I'm saying is there's so many people that your story will resonate with, and how you help them, that's the features and the functions of what you're helping them with. but the story will resonate with so many people. So that's so great. I love it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That
And
helps. That helps. I've
yeah,
been struggling with, frustration and, you know, trying to figure out the direction to go. So yeah, this is
yeah.
very helpful. This
What's your
great.
goal? What's your goal vis-a-vis the store?
For the store, primarily just to help people, but I mean, of course, you have to fund the store. It costs money to have it running, so I need to at least be able to fund the store.
Mm-hmm.
But now, really, I mean, this is a big deal. People have these issues and they love their dogs. And I think it could actually go a lot further than that. People like me will pay tons of money for anything that could possibly help the situation, any kind of CBD or treats or activities
Yeah.
or anything that can help calm the dog down. People will pay for that and they
Yeah.
need that kind of help,
Yeah.
you know?
So
So,
see, now I want to point out something here because this is a teachable moment. Look at Lisa's demeanor and energy when she talks about her vision for the store and helping people. Could you feel that shift,
Mm,
Lisa,
yes.
from worry, fear, and doubt about, oh, how's the store
right.
doing? What
Yeah.
am I doing? To, oh my
If I
God.
push the wrong button, all that.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I love about this, and when, listen, right here with you, I have big goals too. And I find myself in oh, this is why it's hard. This is why marketing's hard. This is why launches are hard. Attracting clients is hard, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That is a no cheese tunnel. And I'm saying this with a bit of emphasis because I need to hear it too. But when we get involved with the what we desire, what we really want, and why, which is beautifully expressed by you, Lisa, right there. Why, what do I want? I want to help people who have dogs like mine. I know they will spend their last penny to help these
Yeah.
animals and help the situation. And they need help. And I'm here to help the what and the why. When you stay in that energy and fixed on that, the answers will come. You will attract to you what you need. The solutions will come. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Peggy,
Thank
can you
you.
say that? That was
Pardon
really
me?
good. I want you to say that again. You just
Sure.
said,
So, and this is about this lesson, right? The miracle of your mind.
yes.
When we're in the creative process, when we're using our higher mental faculties. So think about it this way. You use your Lisa used her imagination in the beginning to create something from nothing,
Yes.
right? She was like, wait a minute. I have this situation. There's a solution for this. I'm going to figure out a solution for this. And I'm not only going to figure out it for myself, I'm going to help other people with it.
Yeah.
That was an act of imagination, part of her higher faculties. Excuse me. That's thinking from the inside out.
Yes.
Then she started getting results that weren't in alignment with her goal or with her vision. And then she started letting those results creep into her thinking, into her paradigm started to fire out. Her worry, fear, and doubt. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm not doing it right? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm going to lose money. This isn't going to work. Maybe people won't pay for it. I don't know, Lisa. I don't know your world. I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but I bet I'm
Right. No,
hitting
it's pretty
pretty.
accurate.
Okay, right. Well,
Yeah.
how do I know? Because I know.
Yeah.
So when we get involved, so Kathy, I know you have a big dream
Hmm.
about helping clients and about, some other goals we've talked about. The what of the goal is the only thing that matters. What does Phil Goldfine say to me? Guy is incredibly successful. Every time I talk to him, one question only. Peggy, what do you want? I'm like, no, Phil, it's my paradigm. You don't understand. I'm up against it. It's hard. Peggy, what do you want? I'm like, Phil, really? He's like, that's it. That's all Bob ever asked me at the end. Phil, what do you want?
And you stay away from the why and the, what did you
No.
say?
Yeah, so you want to, so I got a little off the beaten path here. So you want to stay fixed, Kathy, on the what? What do you want? And why you want it. What you
Oh,
want is the act of imagination. That's the
yeah,
pure co-creation. Like, wouldn't it be nice, as Trevor used to say, wouldn't it be nice if?
yes,
But
I love,
then, but then the more, I won't say it's more important, but as important is to use the why. Lisa,
yes.
why is this important to you?
Is that rhetorical?
No.
No. Why? Because it's a very serious issue that is more common than we know, and these dogs end up in shelters and they don't come out.
Yeah, that's a pretty big why.
Yeah.
That gave me chills and made me cry.
Euthanizing animals
Yeah.
unnecessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty big why.
It makes me
So that,
cry.
yeah, me too. Because we
Yeah,
all had animals and we love animals and we don't want to, and it's really unfortunately through no fault of their own.
Yeah.
They were just innocent bystanders. So I promise you, Lisa, and this is to answer your question, Kathy, if you, whatever you have to do to stay as connected to your what and your why, if it's
mm,
images, if it's pictures of the money that funds this so it can be sustainable, if it's images of dogs that have transformed with their owners because of the work you do, you lock and load into that. I'm telling you, it cannot fail.
okay, that's great.
Cannot fail.
Here's where we get into trouble, Kathy, and
Okay,
everybody, is
yes,
when we default to the outside circumstances, and typically that shows up in the how.
yep,
And
they,
typically, right? Because we
yep,
don't see the evidence of it working. The absence of
Mhm.
evidence is not the evidence of absence.
yep,
We don't plant seeds and then go out 10 days later and dig it up and go, hey, how are you doing?
yep,
You can see that's counterproductive, right? We have
yes,
faith, we have faith that it's going to work.
Well, there.
And that's, I think, part of your story, Lisa, is that you're giving people faith. And oh, by the way, I have a dog named Faith. But you're giving
Oh,
people
really?
faith,
Oh,
right? That this
right.
this can change. Don't give up hope. So
Yeah.
the what and the why, and this has just recently come to me in a really big way. When you feel yourself starting to slip on your dream and your goal and your vision,
mm,
check to see if you're in the how,
okay, so good, good,
right? Now
yeah,
listen, I'm not saying the how doesn't matter and it's not important. It's a sequencing issue. When you're
Yeah.
setting
See
big
that?
goals, yep, when you're
Yeah.
setting big goals, the how it has no place in it. You won't know how. You've never done it before if it's a proper C type goal. You are literally creating something from nothing. You're pulling energy from the quantum field. You're giving it shape and form in your mind, in your higher faculties, which we're discussing today. And it's moving to and through you from spirit, through your intellect, into physical form. And if you're feeling discouraged, you're probably looking at the outside circumstances and letting that start the thinking, feeling, and behaving. And that's just never a good place to be.
Right.
It matters to pay attention to, back to your point, Lisa. Hey, objectively saying, how is this working? How is this not working? To the extent that you can revise, rewrite, reimagine, right?
Right.
Like, look, we wouldn't have lights if Edison hadn't kept at it, because I think it failed thousands of times. But he never gave up on the what and the why. The Wright brothers never gave up on the what and the why. And thank God they didn't, because I was able to sleep in a lay flat seat, a big jet all the way over here, you know, with Wi-Fi and pillows and blankets. Like they never imagined that, probably. But they certainly imagined a machine that could fly people from place to place. And here I am over the Pacific Ocean. So we all have that power. That's the power of this lesson, is when we live using those higher faculties. That's how, I think Dan might have mentioned this to you. That's how Bob lived. He never wondered if something was going to happen. He just fixed it in his mind and went
He,
about it.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, it's true. He never worried about it.
Never, not once.
No.
It's a waste of our mental energy to worry. It's common. I mean, this lesson, they talk about it. I love how Earl broke it down. Things we worry about. 40% are things that are in the past that you cannot change, right? How much
Yep.
of us go through self-flagellation about coulda, woulda, shoulda, either blaming ourselves or other people? Things that are outside of our control. In my control, out of my control. The only thing that's in your control is how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. And whether that's in alignment with who you are, what you want, and what gives you pleasure and joy. That's it. And when you reduce it to that, it's pretty simple. It's not our job to control other people. It's not our job to control the economy. It's not our job to control your spouse, your friends, your kids, your grown children. Everybody's on their own journey. That's it. Abraham says one person who's in alignment with themselves, with their inner being, is more powerful than a million people who aren't. And I love that because we often, so often, we're trained to, in the programming, control the outside circumstances so we can feel better. Anybody relate to that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? I think there's,
Absolutely.
you know, in the literature, in the psychology literature, it's called codependence
Yeah.
or enabling or whatever. And the truth is, you can never change anybody else. That should not be the focus of your mental energy. It's a complete waste of time. I don't care if that person's your husband or your spouse or your, or your wife or
Child.
your child, 100%. Like,
Mhm.
you do you. So, so when I think about this lesson, I think what's so incredible is that we have these higher mental faculties and we almost never are taught to use them. And when we do use them, it's almost always not if we're not getting the results that we want, we're not using them in the direction of the good we desire. So for example, perception. Let's talk about some of these. There's a universal law that says nothing is big or small, but thinking makes it so.
Yes.
If you could just shift your perception, Lisa, to say, how would Bob Proctor think about this Spotify store? Not Spotify. That's a music thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Although that's an idea.
Although that's an idea. How would
Yeah.
Bob think about that? How would, how would a millionaire who was creating a business like this, how would he or she think about that? And you can actually get into people's energies, right? So Bob had a practice, and it was actually introduced to Joni and I when we first met with this mentor we were studying with, whose name was Peter Sage. Every thought that ever is, ever was, and ever will be is evenly present in all places and all times. So there's an incredible science fiction movie called Lucy. It's an interesting movie, and I think it's pretty good at explaining what I'm going to just say, is that all the information is already here through this series of events. Scarlett Johansson, who plays this person in this film, becomes so aware of vibration that she can see frequencies in the air. She can see the
Wow.
energies coming off trees. So here's an opportunity, Lisa. Write down the challenge. Bob talks about this in this lesson too. You know, he says on one side of the card is the challenge, on the other side is the solution.
Is the
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So
that's from the movie.
oh,
That's a quote from the movie where she's almost at her end, and she's sitting there and she's like, these numbers don't mean anything. 1+1 doesn't mean two. It's just that humans have codified the line is we've codified our existence to bring it down to human size to make it comprehensible for ourselves.
right,
But that the scale is so unfathomable.
right.
It's a really chilling line.
No, I love that. And here we are talking about it. So Lisa and Kathy and Joni and Peggy and Laura, here's what I want you to think about. The solution to every question, every challenge you have is already here.
I love that.
Right. The way to access it, like Joni's saying, the way to access it is to get on the frequency of the solution.
Oh, that's good.
Right. So Bob
Right?
had a really cool practice that he would do. He'd say, write down is the problem in me or is the problem on the paper? And he would literally get a 9 by 11 sheet of paper and write out everything that was in his head. The challenge. I don't know how to do the marketing. We're losing money. Blah, 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 whatever, whatever, whatever. And he'd ask himself multiple times until the answer was yes. Is the problem in me or is everything on the paper? And when he could say finally yes, everything's on the sheet of paper, he would literally put it down in the middle of a table, and then he would get into the energy of Hill or Nightingale or Carnegie, and he'd say, how would Napoleon Hill see this? And he would just be in the energy of accepting that their energy is still here and it's still accessible. How would Andrew Carnegie? How would Bill Gates? How would Elon Musk? How would Oprah? How would who's the chick, Sarah Blakely, right? And you can literally tap into their energy and download the answers because they're already here on a metaphysical level. And that's, to me, a beautiful use of perception, of shifting the perception from your current paradigm, which is seeing it as a big, possibly insurmountable challenge or at least a big hill to climb, to wait a minute, how would somebody else see this? Is this helpful?
This is one hot call. This,
I love
yeah, this is loaded. So when you said nothing is big or small, but thinking
But
makes it so. When you
right,
said that today, that's the first time I actually got it, even though I've heard you say that a million times.
right.
But finally today it clicked.
That's
So,
okay. Uh, hence, hence the argument for repetition.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's, and I love that story, and I know I've told it, but it bears repeating. We don't study. Bob said the only problem is ignorance, and ignorance is only overcome by knowledge, and the only way to gain knowledge is through study, right? We went to school for decades as children because you don't just hear something once and then become good to go with it. You have to learn it and learn it and learn it, that constant spaced repetition. So that it was like that time when he was listening to Bill Gove speak, and he's like, gosh, I can only speak like that guy. And it's so funny to think of Bob as a not powerful speaker, because Kathy and I have had the good fortune of, like, the guy rocked, he walked into a room and literally before you saw him, you could feel him.
I was
Isn't that right?
wondering about
Isn't
that.
that
He
right, Kathy?
he owned the room. He always says, own the room. Well, he would step on stage and that was it. He
Yeah,
controlled it. There are
yeah,
300 people in the room. And he's
thousands. Yeah,
5 years.
yeah. But at one point, and here's what I want you to know. At one point, he was this, I've seen pictures of him with Earl and Lloyd Conant. He was this tall, gangly. I mean, there's old videos of him with the thick glasses. I mean, like
Yeah,
old school, right? He was just
right.
this kind of awkward guy. And at one point, he was so scared of public speaking that he was in the back of a room with 1,000 people thinking, oh my God, a desire was formed in his heart to help people. If only I could speak and hold the room in the palm of my hand, like Bill Gold, who was arguably one of the best. He was like the Frank Sinatra of speaking, is what Bob used to say. He said, if only I could do that. And immediately his paradigm kicked in. Now, this is where the paradigm is controlling our higher faculties, right?
Mhm.
Our paradigm, our current paradigm, contains our perception, it contains our self image, it contains our productivity, it contains our perception of what's large or small, right?
Yes.
So, Elon Musk starting this business, he'd have it all, or somebody like Grant Cardone. Joni, didn't they like drop Grant Cardone with $500 in the middle of nowhere and said, okay, go for it? He had like a $5 million business within a
It
month.
was $100
Okay.
and no contacts. Nobody knew him.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he has developed the faculties of his mind to such extent and his awareness that he now knows what to do, and it's part of his paradigm. So anyway, so here's why constant spaced repetition is so important, because we're reprogramming our paradigms. We're using our perception to say, wait a minute, I'm looking at this like this is a big deal. How would Proctor see this? How would somebody who's scaled a business like this see this? And tapping into that energy. So so Bob at that moment, because he had listened to Earl for so many hours, he'd listened to this program, to lesson one, attitude, where Earl says, now here we come to the strangest thing. We overestimate what other people can do and we underestimate what we can do. And in that moment, when he had launched that rocket of desire, I would love to be able to speak like that to help people, the what and the why, committed to helping people, and why this was so important. Because he knew if he could become as good of a speaker as Gove, he could help transform the lives that the way he wanted to. And in that moment, Earl's voice sprang from Bob's subconscious mind and said, here we come to the strangest thing. We overestimate what other people can do and we underestimate what we can do. Because he had used constant spaced repetition and listened to, and he didn't even know what he was doing. He didn't know why he was doing it. He just kept doing it because he was so fascinated by this. And in that moment, with that awareness, he made a committed decision. This I will do. And not only this I will do, I'll get Gove to teach me. And he said, I paid Gove a respectable amount of money to teach me how to do this. Probably money he didn't have, but it didn't
Yeah.
matter. It was the what and the why. You always find the money for the things you want. You do. Clothes, vacations, flights, cars, homes. It always comes. So using your higher faculties the way they're meant to be used is the most important thing we can do for ourselves. Use your perception. If you're getting kicked around by the outside circumstances, go back to this lesson and lead the field, and also go back to TIR, to lesson 5. There are questions in there that help lead you through this path. How can I shift my perception? How can I shift my imagination to imagine the best. How can I tap into my will to hold that on the screen of my mind to the exclusion of all else? When those pesky thoughts start coming in, you're like, get out of here. Stop it. Get out of here. The what and the why. How can I fill in the image of how I want to? Lisa, how can you imagine? Because your imagination can take you anywhere. The testimonials of people thanking you for literally saving their dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you know the pain.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
And you know the possibility.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you've gotten through the other side. You know, Kathy, that's what drives you, I believe, in your coaching. You know how powerful this is.
Oh, yes. But change. So, um, yeah, from 2018 when we met, I was feeling really stuck, and now
Yeah,
I'm helping people.
right,
It's really powerful.
right. And so this is the power. And Joni, I know you have big goals too. And I want you, that's what I'm really coming to, is this is the power of every single day. Start your day. I won't say if possible, everything's possible. Start your day very connected to the what of your goal and the why. We're at an advanced level here where Bob gives us this homework to spend an hour a day. Phil and I have discussed this. He said, Peggy, it's hard. I said, I know, I know. So if an hour a day is too much, spend a half an hour. Start with 15 minutes. The point is do it,
Yeah.
right?
This
It,
they recommend an hour a day when we're at this level.
yes,
Okay.
that's what Bob did. He spent an hour in the morning writing his book, You Were Born Rich.
Mm-hmm.
That really was part of what the catalyst of really launched him, right?
Yeah.
So, because then he got involved with the movie The Secret, and that, and then Sandy got attracted to him. But all of this comes from a result of using our minds, and we have to use it in a generative way. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Because listen, our lives are busy, and more than ever, things are coming at us. And I'm realizing it's not enough to just get up and start, in quotes, working on my goal. I need to be connected to the what and the why every single day, because that opens up this creative space of actual true generative thought. Bob spent 80 to 90% of his day only in that, if you want to call it that fantasy state. How can this work? Who can I talk to? What do I need? How can I attract that? Always in the state of possibility, always in the state of it's already done, just looking forward to how it's going to manifest, but knowing that it will. And that's a very different way of being and state of feeling than the fear, worry, and doubt that it might not happen, that we might not have the resources, that we might not know how. And I'm not saying this to you like, hey, I'm way up here. I'm saying this to you as your goals get bigger, as mine have, you got to up the game, or it just feels like the hill's getting steeper because it is, right? We're not in the shallows anymore. We're in the deep part of the water here. But the safety, the comfort, the joy, the ease, the grace, the flow is in the knowing that by using our higher faculties, by following our hearts, by using the universal laws, the law of polarity, up, down, in, out, the law of relativity, nothing's big or small, but thinking makes it so. You can make your problems look small. You can tap into the energy of the answers that are already here using your imagination and your intuition. You can keep filling in the picture, Joni, of what you desire as if it's already happening, right? Your subconscious mind does not know what's real or imagined. The universe only speaks vibration. We talked about this last week. The universe only responds to your vibration, whether it's in response to something that's in quotes real or something that you've conjured vibrationally from imagination. Universe is agnostic. It does not care. The process works 24/7 all the time.
Yeah.
The other thing that's so cool about this is when we live in this state, it feels amazing. And I'm convinced more than ever, that's what we crave. The things that come out of the Play-Doh factory as a result of that are really awesome, like lay flat seats and Delta One, you know, which I'm confirmed for on the red eye, go me. Or more money, a committed relationship, a beautiful home, helping, whatever it is, that all has to happen by law, cause and effect. We only focus on being the cause. The effect will manifest like it's getting light out this morning here in Hawaii. If you think about it, energy is constantly moving to and through you into form. The form that's coming out is a function of your mental faculties. I know you remember this, Lisa and Kathy from SGR, right?
Mm-hmm.
The formless substance. What does he say, Lisa?
The formless substance
Yeah. How does the formless
is impressed.
substance?
It's well, we impress it upon our subconscious mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And we form substance out of it.
Yeah. Any thought that's held in the formless substance must move to and through it into form. There's even a saying in that Wallace Wattles book that if a house, hold on, I have to plug in my computer. If a house is the thing that is held in the mind and the materials are not available, hold on, that the house will build itself. And I said to Bob in one of the inner circle meetings, I'm like, Bob, is that true? And he said, honestly, I believe it's true, but I believe that we don't believe it as a human race enough that it can happen yet. That our consciousness, back to the Lucy quote, Joni, that we have fit the external world into our understanding so we can grasp it. But what we're doing here is flipping that around and saying, what if there could be spontaneous healings? What if things could just manifest into form? What if, right? And all of the things, all the technology that we have today, think about it. It took me 6 hours to fly from Salt Lake City to Honolulu, Hawaii. That was unthinkable 150 years ago, not even. But somebody imagined it. The fact that we're talking over something that's the size of a 9x11 pad, I could be doing this from my phone, something that can fit in my pocket, was completely unthinkable. Sometimes I want you to just look around the room you're in, the building you're sitting in, the things you have, and think to yourself, everything you can see was once in the imagination of a human being.
I heard a quote the other day about talking about Chat GPT, artificial intelligence, and I can't remember the quote, and I will find out, but it was saying that artificial intelligence will be more intelligent than all of our collective intelligence within like a really short amount of time, like mind blowing.
Absolutely. And what I loved about this lesson is that, Earl was talking about this, right? Over 50 years ago, that the growth of the human race in terms of advancements, and there's plenty that needs to advance. I'm not saying we're totally there as a species, but the growth of technology, and Earl was talking about this in the 60s, had advanced so quickly because of the development of the mind. And yet we have this, to your point, Joni, what they're talking about here is as human beings, we're probably using less than 5% of our capacity.
Mhm.
And this is why when we do this work, people make quantum leaps in their results, not because they're not smart enough or they don't have the capacity or they don't have the ability. It's because it's almost like you've been given a tool and you're not using it correctly. I'm grasping for an analogy, like you've been given a screwdriver, but you're trying to use it as a hammer.
That's
But
me.
right. But here's the thing. We now are getting an understanding. We're eradicating our ignorance / unawareness, if you will. And we're saying, wait a minute, what if we gave ourselves a 30-day experiment where we only ever thought about what we wanted, why it mattered to us, a why that makes you cry, and then put yourself in the energy of how it can happen? What if?
Yeah.
And to Joni's point, and I talked to Dan because he and I talked about it before he did the facilitation on Tuesday. We had a couple of days and we talked about it, about what was really impactful to us in this lesson. And to Joni's point, the world is changing so quickly. And I think the major anxiety that people are feeling is they feel completely like a fish out of water,
Mhm.
right? But Bob also said that's the importance of unlearning, relearning, and unlearning and relearning. Our educational system has set us up. And I'm not saying formal education is bad, it's good, it does a lot of good things for you, but it doesn't teach us this. And that is the educated person of the future is not someone who knows something and it's fixed in their minds. I would say, with the exception of what we're learning here, it's someone who can learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Yeah, I
I
heard a
think that,
very similar quote regarding
right?
that, and that the people who will survive, the world that we're about to embark upon, are the people who can do exactly that.
Mhm.
Right. And because we are understanding how to use the most powerful force on earth, our minds, that's what's going to set us apart. I mean, Earl even talks about that. He says, it's not even like the bar is that high. 97% of the population
Yeah.
doesn't even know what we're talking about in this room. And that doesn't make us better than them, but it definitely equips us to succeed in life and to live the important thing, look, is living a fulfilled life, right? It's love, it's abundance. So we can give more, we can have more, we can do more, we can be more. And it's legacy. There was a guy in the personal development realm that passed away unexpectedly this week. And Joni, and I were chatting about that. And it's like, that is it though. You just never know.
He was 47.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
What was his name?
Dave Hollis.
Oh, I
If
don't
you've
know.
ever heard of Rachel Hollis, wrote a few books, Girl Wash Your Face, Girl Stop Apologizing. It was her ex-husband who also had written a few books about courage and things like that. Amazing guy. Anyway.
yeah. Yeah, so we have this opportunity to use these higher faculties to really live in this peaceful, joyful, co-creative state. And I'm going to repost that video that Bob did on co-creation because it really pulls it all together. He brings in the universal laws from Wallace Wattles, and then he brings in the higher faculties and this concept of entering into the spirit of it, which is from Thomas Troward. But, all of you have these amazing goals, things you want to achieve. And when you get into the question of what is it you want and why does it matter so much to you? I do this work because I was at a point where I didn't know if life was worth living. I mean, it was not good. And I was getting the best therapy money could buy. I was on medication. I was self-medicating. It was not for lack of trying that I wasn't feeling great, but I just didn't know what I know today. That's why it's so important for me to share this with people because now I see how unlimited we are. Now I see how we're really meant to live. That's my why. If I get bogged down in the, oh, why isn't the funnel working? Why isn't the all that it?
Mhm.
It is not pleasant. Now, it's not to say don't look at that and try to make that better, but not from the energy of lack or fear or worry or doubt, because that will only bring what, class?
Resistance or bring
More of
about
this,
more of the
yeah,
same.
more of the same.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it makes you feel bad, right? Just
Yeah.
not a good place. But,
Which
you
brings more
know,
of that.
right, exactly. Because you can only attract, what did Bob say? The law of attraction is constantly at work, but it's based on the law of vibration. You can only attract what you are in vibrational harmony with. And you can get yourself in vibrational harmony and alignment with success by focusing on what you want. And then you can emotionalize it by saying, why is this important to me? Why, on my last breath, was this the thing that I dedicated my life to? Last week, we talked about a worthy ideal. Bob said something that has stuck with me to this day. Your life is being given to something every single day. Is it worthy of your life? And that's a very different shift from, well, my dad told me I should work for IBM. I should get a good job. I should do this. I should do that, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying don't work for IBM. I'm not saying don't get a good job. I'm saying we know more today. So, what is it you want? And on the daily, what they're giving us in terms of homework here is sit down with a good cup of coffee. Bob used to do it first thing in the morning. I find that to be an
Mhm.
effective time for myself to really connect into source.
Maybe some high
And
vibe coffee. I'm just saying.
maybe some high vibe coffee. I'm just
Yes.
saying. Sit down with some coffee. I don't know, tea, wine. I don't know your life, whatever you want. And ask
Wine first
yourself,
thing in the morning.
no, I don't, I haven't had a glass of wine for a long time. I don't know when you want to do it, how you want to do it, but that you do it, that's what's important to me. If you sit down and take this challenge and start, if an hour is too much, sit down and ask yourself, once you're hooked into emotionally the what and the why, like Kathy, visualize that gal that you're helping, that you and I spoke about,
Yeah.
like helping her get to the other side of what she's dealing with. Didn't we wish we had someone like us, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Damn it. Everybody needs someone like us. So, and that's not from an ego standpoint. That's just from when you know better, you can help people. Get
Yes.
involved and ask the question, how can I better serve? How can I be more successful? How can I achieve my goals? Because we deserve to be fulfilled too, right?
Hmm.
And then listen for the answers. If you're dealing with a problem, try Bob's way of doing it. Write it all out, get it all out of you, put it all on a sheet of paper. He would literally get up out of one chair and go to the next chair. How can I shift my perception? How can I download the answer? The answer's already here. What am I not seeing? How can I make this look small? Peggy McCall had a great story. She and Denis, her amazing husband, wanted to buy a house. And she called Bob. And as everybody who's ever called Bob with a problem that they wanted to solve, but were scared of solving, said, don't call Bob Proctor if you don't want to solve the problem. So Bob said to her, what's your problem? And she said, Denny and I found our dream house. He said, so buy it. She said, well, it's $1 million more than we have in the budget. And he laughed and he goes, do you believe what we teach? That was kind of his standard answer. And she said, yes. And then he said, okay, why don't you make $1 million look small? So instead of being like, oh, Bob, that's hard. That's easy for you to say. You have millions. I don't. Peggy just always listened to what Bob told her to do, which is what I'm telling you to do. She sat down, and 3 hours later, she called Bob back and said, I have an idea. And he said, what is it? She said, let's you, myself, Gay Hendricks, and Mary Morrissey do a weekend workshop called Make $1 Million Look Small. And she earned the extra $1 million.
I guess Bob couldn't turn her down at that point since he was the one who.
Right? But she put her imagination to work immediately at the suggestion of the possibility. Because she had managed her paradigm enough to know that what Bob told her to do, she did it. And she fired up her imagination and said, how can I make $1 million look small? Well, I wonder if I have this problem, maybe other people have this problem. I wonder if other people would like to solve this problem. Oh, maybe I can get these other, personal development powerhouses together to help other people solve this problem, thereby providing a higher level of service, thereby solving my problem. Voila. That's how easy it can be. But that's a function of training your higher faculties to work the way they're intended to work. So I've chatted a lot about all this. What questions do you have? Like, is there something you're working on that feels like you could use this process, or you're up against it a little bit, or you need advice, or you want clarification?
I think this entire hour has been amazing advice.
Truly,
Yes.
it's what we all needed to hear. Just keep hearing it.
Yeah.
I hope you'll post it.
Absolutely. I'm going to post this, and I'm also going to repost in our WhatsApp chat that video that Bob did for one of his inner circle classes, which was basically his inner circle was you met once a week with him, you were studying what he was studying, and he explained it really in depth. And the first time I heard this, I've listened to it dozens of times. It's starting, to your point, Lisa, it's like it's just starting to kick in, because it's just like when Bob was thinking about Bill Gold, and all of a sudden he was like, wait a minute, that's what that means. We don't listen to something hundreds of times because the material changes, our awareness is rising, and we're relating it back to a problem or a challenge or an opportunity we have in our lives, right? That's why studying with a purpose, writing down for that hour each day, how can I better serve? How can I achieve this goal? What resources are here? How can I perceive this differently? That's why this is so important, Joni.
Well, like Lisa, I had a big aha moment yesterday morning that relates to this very topic. I shared it on the RPM call yesterday. If you follow Abraham Hicks, she has an expression that she uses called time-space reality, and she is referring to our time on Earth as mortal human beings. And if you believe that we were spirits before we came here and we continue to be spirits afterwards, so she's talking about we are here in this time-space reality for a reason. And I've heard her say that dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and it hit me like a ton of bricks yesterday when what she said was, we are here in this time-space reality to focus, to help us focus. Because if we believe that we are eternal beings, the reason we are here now is to focus on what it is that we're supposed to be doing, our expansion. And I was like, wow, like focus, it was really powerful. And it, as I said, Peggy, it helped me put this lesson in kind of in a wrapping.
Right. Yeah, it's you see, when we study this, you start to understand. I have started to understand why ignorance is so costly. And I don't just mean money, although it does cost us money. I don't mean um I don't mean just on a material plane. I mean on a physical, emotional, spiritual enjoyment level and ease of life. That joy of living, the feeling in flow. I know we've all felt it before. Just that place of just being, like you said, focusing. And what if through our focus, we come here to experience what's unwanted? Like Lisa had an experience of a dog who was really wound up and potentially needed to go back and maybe never come back out. Kathy and I, and have experienced relationships that were extremely painful, and patterns of relationships that were extremely painful, and life that was good by all measures, but not super fulfilling, and wanting more, and not knowing where do you go.
Yeah.
This is the new, in my humble opinion, this is the new frontier of understanding, of eliminating that ignorance, of gaining knowledge. And it's by investing in ourselves and doing the study and putting it into practice and living a life that most people think is kind of crazy until all of a sudden it's not. And they're like, hey, what are you doing? you know, why are you so confident? Why are you so, at peace and happy and in flow? Because everybody wants this, because this is how we're built to live. We've just been sorely miseducated. So keep studying and follow the instructions. I mean, I've said this and I even hesitate to say it, but God forbid, if you never saw me again, y'all have enough material that if you diligently put yourself on this and spent just an hour a day, an hour out of 24, we all get the same amount of time. This is the most important work you can be doing. Bob spent 80% of his day in the fantasy world using his higher faculties. He also was super productive. We're going to get into productivity in this program.
Good.
But the first thing is getting your mind and your energy and your higher faculties in alignment with the good you desire. Because as Abraham says, it's like vacuuming a room and not plugging in the vacuum. You can be going through the motions. You can be working hard. You can be hustling and grinding. Do the work from a place of inspired action. Do the work once you're plugged into the what and the why. Ask for guidance from the what and the why. It's here. It will come. It will come into your awareness. Doing the work, not plugged into that's the old paradigm.
Yeah.
That's that's why the title of one of my books is going to be a line with a big circle around the word with a line through it over hustle. Because that was the mechanical age that we lived in. That was the industrial age. We could like muscle things through. But like Bob says in this program, in this lesson in particular, if we hadn't used our minds, we wouldn't be flying to the moon and back. We wouldn't be flying to Hawaii and back. We wouldn't be talking on a computer. We wouldn't be talking on cell phones. We wouldn't have medical advances that lets us live. The estimates are now to 150.
Oh, wow.
And not just live, but like live, right? So all of this is coming from the minds of human beings. And you have one, free and clear, as Bob says. So I want you to really spend the balance of this week really thinking about how can I engage my higher faculties for me, for, to your point, Joni, for what I want to create and leave as a legacy, right? That's what Abraham, I think, is talking about. Like, we came here to create something, to leave behind a better place, a better world, however that is. If you're a doctor, a lawyer, a consultant, a coach, a purveyor of high vibe coffee, a person who helps people with their dogs, believe me, if it's being done, it's out there. So yeah, so use your higher faculties, okay? Do the lessons. Listen to this video I'm going to post in the WhatsApp chat. I think we're at a point right now where it's really going to be like, oh, that's what Bob was talking about. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
Peggy. Awesome.
Awesome. Talk to you
Yeah.
soon.
If you're watching this, we missed you.
When do you come back?
I fly back, is today Thursday? Yes, a week from today. I'll be doing the next Zoom call I'll do Monday night Zoom call from here. And Thursday's call I'll be doing from the Delta Lounge because I'll be back on a red eye. So I'll see you then.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Having
All right.
fun.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.